Well, not exactly like we drew it up, but the 76ers did fight until the very, very end, making it a game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, ultimately falling 118-102. And while that score looks a little lopsided, it was much closer if you watch the game. 16-point loss, cut it to 4 early in the fourth quarter after being down by as much as 21. But the shorthanded 76ers, led by Justin Edwards, who we'll get into discussing his play tonight, they fell once again to the Oklahoma City Thunder on this Tuesday night, the front end of a back-to-back as they get ready to host the New York Knicks on Wednesday. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Bet365, of course, make sure you go and sign up. When you do, download the Bet365 app. Using the code PHLY365 when you do sign up, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll talk about all of everything that happened in this game tonight. Player of the game, we had a WTF moment early in the game as well, which was very funny, but it didn't deter the 76ers as they fought until the very end alongside Rich Hoffman. I'm Devon Givens. Brianna with us. We'll check in with the guys from the arena later on as well. Rich, we thought this was going to be a lopsided one. Before the game, we were sitting down with Jamie Lynch and a few of the other guys here in the office. VG was here as well. We were talking about what's the spread, and we looked at it. We made a guess. I think you said somewhere like 9.
Yeah, I said 9.
I said 8.5 maybe, and Jamie looked it up, and it was 12 at that point.
But we didn't know Paul George was out.
When the game
Maxey
started, though, it jumped to 16 on Bet360. It was Bet365, and man, they covered that number. In game, as we were watching it, there was an update on it where the number was, I think, in the first quarter when they were down 21, 23.5 was the spread. And then they fought all the way back in the fourth quarter to push it to 4, forcing the Thunder to call a timeout. They battled, shorthanded, veterans, young guys. It was really the young guys, though, that really put their stamp on this one, even despite the loss, giving us something to be interested in this one tonight.
I felt like I was back in a time machine a little bit, man. And the year we went back to, let's call it 2015, 2014, it felt like we were back in the process tonight where you have a team that is one of the NBA title contenders coming into Philadelphia, and you're just wondering, okay, how bad is it going to get? And the answer for most of this game was it wasn't that bad. I know that a 16-point loss, it's certainly not a close game. The final score, they got outclassed at the end of the game. But there were some moments where they fought. I'm thinking back to the end of the third quarter. Gershon Yabusele gets a pick and pop, and then he drives. I think it was the taller Jalen Williams, gets a tough finish on him. Bad pass an inbounds pass by the other Jalen Williams, stolen by Jeff Doughton. Yabu gets the rebound and flicks the offensive board putback in just before the buzzer. You know, the whole bench is going crazy, and I was thinking like, yeah, this is what would happen in 2014, 2015, right? You play with a little more energy than another team that is definitely playing with their food a little bit, but then the crowd gets excited. You get it, I believe, down to 4 early in the fourth quarter when Eric Gordon makes a corner 3. Place is going crazy. You know what's funny? They have the close-up shot of the player running back, and you can see, oftentimes you can see Kyle and Derek sitting on press row in that shot, but you can see the fans who were sitting behind the basket, Devon. You had a lot of fans who were looking up at the scoreboard. You could see, and that's what you would do during those years, because they looked up at the scoreboard and they were like, wow, is this really a 4-point game? And the answer was, for a moment it was.
For a moment,
It didn't stay there. I mean, Justin Edwards and the young guys, I thought they played really hard. I thought this game could really, really get out of hand in the first quarter. Like you said, you know, they're down 20 points. It looked like they wouldn't be able to score against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We said, are they going to crack 90 points? Well, they cracked 102. So in a game that they had absolutely no chance in, I thought the young guys acquitted themselves pretty well, for sure.
They really did, man. And I think we would be, we talk a lot about certain things at the top of the show. We get here, we go in all these different directions. We expected them to lose this game. We expected them to get blown out in this particular game. Certainly shorthanded, undermanned, whatever you want to use. Thunder had all of their key players. Could they take their foot off the gas? Yes. We were talking to one of our staff members here a little bit earlier. I know I was. Rich was doing something else, and Bree was in here getting ready, and I was talking to one of the guys and said, you know what? OKC just does not let up. They do not let up. They let up tonight. And it wasn't just that they let up, though. It was also that the young players, as you talked about playing with the food, with the OKC side, the young players took advantage of the opportunity that was presented to them.
Both things can be true.
Yes, absolutely. They could be true.
They played with their food, but the young guys took the opportunity.
If the OKC Thunder guys really put their foot on the gas, we're probably talking a 30-point lead at some point in this one. But the young players took full advantage of the opportunity, and it really started with Justin Edwards. So let's get to him, man, and what he did tonight. 25 points. He was 4 for 9 from beyond, got to the free throw line after he had a personal 7-point stretch there in that first quarter when he got in there to really show that, oh, Justin Edwards came to play here tonight. And you can see that confidence build, stepping into threes, looking good on those, driving to the basket, getting into the middle of the paint, being patient around the defenders, whether it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, or Jalen Williams. And two of them, at least, we talk about them as being one, a really good defender, one, an all-NBA defender in Lou Dort. And he was taking his time driving to the basket, finishing it, a finger roll. He had a drive where he also had a little bit of a runner there in a lane off the glass at the side of the basket because he was patient and used that kind of Euro to get around also Isaiah Hartenstein to get a pretty good shot up. And he got their attention pretty early. He was fantastic with this 25, and we've been talking about him for about a week and a half now, taking some minutes away from Ricky Council IV, a show favorite. We always like to have fun with Ricky for the things that he does, but when Ricky plays himself out of control and out of those minutes, Justin Edwards has taken, again, full advantage of the opportunity that Nick Nurse is giving by calling his number. Rich brought it up in the beginning of the game during the pregame, the closing minutes when Paul George fouls out. He called Justin Edwards' number. And while Justin Edwards had 7 points at that point, didn't do a lot offensively, a night like tonight would have probably gotten them to win. It was more the things that he did throughout that game against the Orlando Magic, which called for Nick Nurse to call number 19, call his number, get him on the floor in those closing minutes where they were only down by a point after Tyrese Maxey made that three-pointer. So for him to play the way that he has as a two-way player, the things that we saw from him in the summer league where we had a lot of questions, understood the two-way assignment, wondering though how much he would last there, how much he would get his number called up here, because still has to knock down those outside shots, still has to be a better defender, still has to be better with the basketball, still has to make some really good decisions. And we knew we would see a lot of time with him with the Delaware Bluecoats. He has done that. He has played well there. He has had 30-point games with the Bluecoats. But tonight, and even that 7-point game against Orlando and the loss and some of the other things that he has done, Rich, over the course of this week and a half, he has really composed himself and put himself in a really, really good spot here for the Sixers. Last year, it was Ricky Council as a two-way player. Terquavion Smith had some nice moments, too, as a rookie with the Sixers, moved on in the summer going to Portland. Tonight, if this is any indication of the player development, how much he has invested himself, in the time that he has put with this coaching staff, with the Bluecoats coaching staff, putting in the work and earning what he is given tonight. He's not going to be this type of player for the rest of the season, but he might flash from time to time, giving us some little things to maybe if the season does get away from the 76ers, Rich, further than it already has, that we're talking in March of, all right, is it time to convert Justin Edwards to a contract at the end of the year and giving the kid an opportunity like they did Ricky Council a season ago?
Here's a question for you and everybody in the chat before I get into my thoughts on Edwards. Is Edwards the most interesting two-way guy they've had since? And I don't know what the answer is to that. I
would say it was Ricky, because I was really, if you remember, again, I started late. You guys started
Ricky
right
was
away.
More interesting last year.
And last year for Ricky was talking to Derek and talking to Kyle and a little bit even before I was able to get into work, how much they liked Terquavion Smith. I did too in college.
A lot of Turk talk last
But
year.
I was really like, hey guys, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", Ricky, crazy athletic. They don't have a lot of that on the roster right now. This is interesting to me. So for me, it was Ricky last year. But even with that, I didn't see that coming with Ricky, where we were here for the Spurs game in double overtime making that pass. The plays that he made against Washington, forcing 12 to the bench because he was playing much better. That was his breakout game on the road against the Wizards. Those things I did not see. The shooting improving the way that it did for Ricky last season a little bit.
And that's why I think I'm going to put Edwards above Ricky. Is that
Well, you said since. You said since.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since it was,
He shot it better last year, but it's still hard to believe in that shot. It was such low volume.
Yeah.
The mechanics on the shot don't look great, but you're right. I mean, Ricky, with the way he played last year, definitely earned himself an NBA contract. But yeah, I mean, Derek talked about this a couple pods ago, and that the Sixers have not had a ton of very interesting two-way guys. Shake was probably the last one where you were like, okay, this guy has a shot to be an actual NBA player. I could be missing some people too. So if anybody wants to,
was Isaiah a two-way? Even though he was a second-round pick, wasn't he a two-way early?
B-Ball Paul might have been too. That's right.
Both of those, I know Paul was, but Isaiah, I'm trying to think of Isaiah.
I think he might have been on a normal contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Justin Edwards, I will say I am pretty interested in him. And again, we're talking about smaller victories here.
100%.
As the Sixers are racking up L's and uncompetitive.
By the way,
a lot of these games.
If they were 25-12 and they did not play tonight, resting, and he did this again, we're still talking about racking up a nice victory here for the kid.
Yeah. So this is a smaller victory, and we're not saying that Justin Edwards is going to be some great player down the line, but he has a chance to be an NBA contributor, in part because of the shooting. I think the shooting, I know he makes the one tonight where he banks it in, he gives a little Jordan shrug after it's over.
It was his night, though.
It was his night, and he made a lot. I will say I am a little bit concerned in that his shot looks good. I think his form looks good. He shot it pretty well at Kentucky last year. Some of his misses are pretty far off, though, and I worry about that a little bit. When you're missing left and right, it's like, is this going to be sustainable? But, man, I like watching him score. He was very under control tonight. You mentioned it. Like some of the pull-up jumpers he made tonight, a couple of the runners. Mm-hmm. That Oklahoma City team, man, the way they play defense is different than everybody else in the league. Like the way they get into passing lanes, there is a reason that they force more turnovers than basically anybody in the league. And Devon, there were a ton of possessions from the Sixers tonight where they're just running 8 dribble handoffs and they're not even getting the ball inside the arc because they are terrified of trying to dribble against some of those pit bull defensive players for OKC.
By the way, Kayson Wallace also a pit bull of a defender. Yeah,
he's tough. There's a reason he starts for them, even if he's probably not one of their best 5 players. But I mean, he's another guy who just puts a ton of on-ball pressure. Justin Edwards was unafraid tonight, and
yes,
I get it. His handle is, it's obviously he's a wing, so his handle is a little bit of a different thing. You grade it on a different scale than a guard, but I thought he was really good at getting to his spots on a night where a lot of guys had trouble getting to their spots for good reason too, because of the teams they were playing and because of the lack of firepower that the Sixers had. That was a very nice performance. And, it's something we talked about with Jared McCain. Like the kid looked pretty unafraid tonight. And obviously when you play a team like Oklahoma City and you are undermanned, you're going to get a shot, right? You have to embrace, that you are going to be the underdogs. You are going to get more opportunity than you probably should for Justin Edwards. And I thought he was really good. And I'll say another thing, Devon, that I like about Justin Edwards. I feel like he's been a pretty good one-on-one defender. Kyle wrote it in his recap tonight. There was one possession where he completely stops the better Jalen Williams, the wing Jalen Williams. He stops him one-on-one, and Jalen Williams makes a very difficult turnaround mid-range jump shot. There was a possession like that last week where Kevin Durant did the exact same thing to him, and I said, that's good defense, kid. You just gotta shake his hand on that one. So Justin Edwards, I don't know what he is, but I would like to see more of him for all of the reasons we have talked about.
Can I give you something? So when he was signed on immediately by the Sixers as a two-way guy after he went undrafted, I reached out to a local coach who knows him very well.
Sure.
And asked him to give me, even though I had seen him, give me a little bit of, hey, can you tell me about the kid? And I'm just going back into our messages he and I had. And he said, work ethic, love for the game, and ability to make shots. he went on to say that he was his ascension was kind of quick, and he grinded his way up. Kid is really self-made for what he has done. His mom also was a all-city player at University City when she played at high school. So he has the pedigree there. And of course, he has a pedigree coming from his mom.
Couple all-pub players.
Exactly. So those were just a couple of things from a buddy of mine, a coach here locally, who had an opportunity to see him as he was making his way through the ranks early on, and then turned himself into what we saw as a top 3 player in the country coming out of his class, going into Kentucky, playing with those guys, Reed Shepherd and all those guys there at University of Kentucky, and being in that spot. Now, you can argue how things went his freshman year at Kentucky, but again, just some of those things where the one thing I had no worry about, because of the guy who he is telling me that I trust him, and he's saying the work ethic is there. Not explosive, right? All that things that we talked about. We still haven't seen all of that. It's just methodical with how he does it and getting to those spots. Kelly Oubre, who is one that we know can get to his spot and score in a variety of ways. We've seen that over the years as a player elsewhere, and even here with the Sixers. He had trouble getting to those spots, finding his spot there early on, and he struggled. He didn't score his first field goal until, I believe, the second quarter or early in the third quarter, and got into foul trouble as well. But Justin Edwards seeing it and recognizing that Ricky isn't unafraid, but it's different.
He was unafraid tonight.
Always. But it's a different unafraid, right? With Ricky versus the methodical way.
Sure, he's mentally
that Edwards had tonight. So the thinking man's game for Edwards, because he doesn't have that athleticism as Ricky Council, at least that way, the explosive way, the quick bounce, the way that Ricky
he's
does.
Not a crazy NBA.
Yeah, but he has enough athleticism to get some things done. So it was really good to see that in an environment like this, back at home, knowing what the starting lineup was. And he came off the bench and did that. Ricky got the start, Oubre got the start, and the same thing for Eric Gordon and Reggie Jackson, of course, on the wings and the guards. He came off the bench, and immediately we looked at each other with Bree and was like, "Oh yeah, he's the best player right now," and it wasn't even close. Maybe Gershon a little bit later, but it wasn't even close.
Elro said Ricky needs a little fear sometimes, which, in fairness, I think that is correct. Yeah, he does.
He does.
He definitely does.
But that's what makes him him. Yeah, that's what makes him him.
By the way, I mean, speaking of thinking this was a process game, there were 2 other things that I wanted to highlight. Number one, it's judging the spread at the end of the game, where, we talked about how it sort of fluctuated depending on when you got it. It was 12 earlier. It was 16 once PG.
And then 23 and a half after the first quarter.
There was nothing like covering those process games and seeing double-digit spreads and seeing whether the Sixers – I didn't have any money on the game, but, considering how bad the basketball was back then, just seeing, are they going to cover tonight? Is TJ McConnell going to make this 3 at the end to win? Little did I know that TJ McConnell was going to have a great NBA career at that point. And the other one is that Ricky Council just running like a madman. I feel like that was every Sam Hinkie process player, just playing with their hair on fire.
Just go for it,
throwing the ball into the 8th row, falling into the 3rd row. Yeah, Ricky felt like he came along about 5 or 6 years too late.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But he
Ricky wasn't even looking at the rim on the fast break.
Looking at the rim, wasn't looking at his teammates when they're wide open. He's just like, let's just have at it, man. I know what the assignment is tonight. We need points. Yes. I think I can get those points for our team. We'll talk about Ricky in a little bit. He had himself an interesting game overall.
Game. Processing game.
He battled. He played hard, and he's one of the young guys that we're speaking of when we say that the undermanned Sixers were led by Justin Edwards and the other young players that really stood out in this loss. 118-102, Sixers fall. They dropped their record to 15-23. Now 8 games under 500. Again, had a chance to push that up a little bit where they didn't lose a lot of ground, but here we are. Knicks tomorrow, second night of a back-to-back, also in South Philadelphia at the Center. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Justin Edwards, Yabusele, Ricky Council. Jeff Doughton showed himself a little bit off the bench too. We'll get into a little bit more. We'll show you our player of the game, all of which will be here, right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365.
And Devon, let's start by talking about our friends at Ace Hardware Home Services.
Ace is the home place. I don't know the song.
With the helpful hardware.
There
folks.
you go. There you go.
I didn't sing it for you, and I think all of you should be thanking me because I didn't sing it. But if you have a leaky pipe at Ace Hardware Home Services, they are around the block with everything that you need to fix it, including the person now to do the fixing. They are not just the helpful hardware folks anymore. They will do the fixing for you as well. And it's not just a leaky pipe. If you have an air conditioning issue, they have a person for that. If there is a faucet that you said you would fix last year, they got that guy too. Or girl, doesn't matter. Because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks. They are also the helpful home service and repair folks. So from plumbing to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. They are bringing the helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door. And Ace, Devon, they have experience. They are local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding, they listen to your goals, and the job is not completed until you, the customer, are satisfied. And they bring help to your home so you can spend more time on the projects that really matter to you. So you can visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at, and this is pretty easy, www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
And I need to tell you about a project that you might be looking forward to as things go along here. The cold weather, you're able to hide it right now. But in the summertime, you want to be right when it comes to how your hair looks. And that's through our good friends from Glatt Hair Restoration. If you check out Johnny Marks on a daily basis, Monday through Friday here on the PHLY network, you'll see John talking about his long-standing relationship with the great people from Glatt Hair Restoration, who has now teamed up with the Morgenstern Center and also the Morgenstern, Dr. Ken Morgenstern in general. And Dr. Glatt and Morgenstern shared a remarkable bond that spanned many years as colleagues and friends, from collaborating on critical research studies to working together in the operating room. But now, as the Morgenstern Center teaming up with Glatt Hair Restoration, you still do get the same peerless approach to care, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, and the same state-of-the-art location with the same stellar results. So if you heard about it before, you've heard John talk about it in the past for many years, and you were very interested. Well, again, we're telling you about it more now, even teaming up with Dr. Morgenstern and his center to make it the great place that it has been. Under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern, a highly respected plastic surgeon, Glatt Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including the laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, PRP, and stem cell restoration, hair restoration surgery as well. And each patient will receive a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration, it's also about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Bald is now optional, but if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get it started. 610-980-4000 to get started, or visit glatthairmctr.com. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365 on this Tuesday night, January 14th. We're already midway through the month of January, with now 12 games remaining for the Sixers before the NBA trade deadline, and still have to dig themselves out of that way, man. Out of that way. 8 games under 500. Tough games the rest of the way this week, with 3 of them. Knicks on Wednesday, Saturday and Sunday. Pacers, Bucks, back-to-back yet again. 2 back-to-backs this week. That's all. 2-2. Go 3-1, maybe. Go 3-1.
Go 3-1.
Yeah.
So go 3-0.
Get your guys back tomorrow and see what happens against the New York Knicks.
Man, I hope so. I hope that's what they're doing. And Kyle also has a section in his recap talking about, does this game, does it signal kind of a lack of seriousness from these guys, considering when you contrast it to OKC, their guys play every single game. Not Chet because he's hurt.
Yeah.
Not Caruso because he's hurt. But their stars play every single game. And I guess I would just say, like, OKC, they have much fresher legs. They're much healthier players, right? They have a better track record of working. But
Sure.
I can tell that a lot of fans were very frustrated. I see you guys in the chat, and I hear you. This has been a super frustrating season. I think the more of the frustration from me tonight was in the pregame, like when you see that all of these guys start dropping like flies and that they are going to try to win tomorrow's game by punting tonight's game. I see some logic in that, but it also stinks that you are punting games at this point of the season when your record is what it is and you have already punted so many games so far. So I get it. But watching them play tonight, I wasn't as frustrated as a lot of the games. Like that game on Friday against the Pelicans, woof. That game a week ago against the Wizards, even though they won, kind of also a woof at the same time. Tonight, they really didn't have any chance, and the guys that did play, I thought, acquitted themselves well considering the very low expectations.
I hear you guys. How would you assess Nick Nurse's job tonight of what he did? We've talked in the past about how good Doc Rivers was in situations like this.
Yeah.
And we've also attacked Nick Nurse in situations like this because he's had a lot of them where it didn't seem like, even with Maxey as the lone star on the floor or George as a lone star on the floor, but the effort was nothing like this. So seeing this one play out the way that it did, getting his guys going. And look, the young guys are going to go after it because of the opportunity of playing 20-plus minutes in this game. But Nick Nurse was also the head coach. So if we are to ding him a little bit in situations in the past, I look at it like, hey, you got to give this guy credit for this one tonight. He coached a pretty good game.
He's starting to understand the insanely shorthanded games. The other one that I'm thinking of from this season is when they played Cleveland and McCain put up, what was it, like 35 points, and they lost to the Cavs by like 5-10 points.
Yeah, because Mitchell was off and then he scored in the last like 6 minutes of the game.
It feels like Nick has the super shorthanded game down right now. Unfortunately, the chances of winning the super shorthanded game are, like Nick can coach a great game and do it correctly. They're still not going to win that game. He needs to figure out how to win the game that Tyrese Maxey and Paul George play.
Yeah. He needs to figure that one out. All right, what were some of the other things that stood out to you in this one? Justin Edwards was the star of this one, rightfully so for the job that he did. But there were others who did some decent things in this one to keep this game close, to cut it to 4 like it was. Yabusele played pretty well, and is that what we pivot to him?
The best minus 18 I've ever seen.
Yeah, pivot to him.
Yabu, so here's the thing with Yabu. When he is the center, when you are shorthanded, he gives you a chance to at least put some variance in the game, because he's going to pop to the 3-point line. He's going to do some good things. He's going to hit the offensive glass. He had 5 offensive rebounds in tonight's game. And a couple of those were some great energy plays where he was fighting with guys on the glass. But Devon, he only had 2 defensive rebounds, and this was one of my 3 takeaways from the night's game, is that the reason the Sixers lost tonight was they couldn't do anything at the rim. And we kind of already have touched on my other 2 points.
Sure.
Where the game was closer than I thought. Justin Edwards, very good night. Oklahoma City, sorry, I almost said Oklahoma.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We're not on TV.
That's fine. Oklahoma City shoots 84% from in close, and they got a bunch of good looks to be expected. Yabu is not a center defensively. He's just not. Yeah. And that was a rough team to play against for him. You just have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, some of those pick and rolls in the first quarter, man, were just like, whether he was dishing or he was getting the N1 or he was just blowing by guys, like Kelly Oubre and Yabu it's like he didn't even think they were there. It was that easy for him.
Yeah.
Shai shoots 12 of 15 for the game. One of those that he missed was just like a very difficult 3 that he had no reason to take, honestly. So defensively, they struggled. Honestly, I didn't think it would be that type of game, though, guys. I thought it would be a game where they lose by 20, 25 points because they have 85 at the end of the game. Really, they could not keep the Thunder out of the paint. Some of the passes that Hartenstein and the taller Jalen Williams threw, like Isaiah Joe back cuts, smaller Jalen Williams back cuts. Sixers had a lot of trouble protecting the rim. That's probably to be expected with the guys that they had on the floor.
We had a lot of those.
But Yabu, he's fine. He's a fine guy to have when you're short.
Oh, yeah. We had a lot of those when the OKC passes were happening from the big guys. We had a lot of, didn't see that happening, even though we know that Hartenstein will make those passes. The same for the Jalen with an eye Williams making those passes. we've seen him, but they had some really good passes in the interior to the smaller guys to get finishes at the rim. But for Yabusele, that's been the thing. He'll end up with the 7 boards. Offensive, it's fantastic. You do need those second chance opportunities, but you also would love for him to be able to secure some of those defensive rebounds as well. But he makes up for it on the offensive end for what he lacks on one end, because we already know that. We always talk about how they have to team rebound to help him out, that he does, in fact, get to those offensive rebounds. So, yes, hit the like button as you see Yabusele pop up on the screen.
Give us a like, guys, please.
With the 3, and he made 3 threes tonight on 5 attempts. So he did his job there. 17 points with the 7 boards, 4 assists, and just 1 turnover in the 30 minutes and 40 seconds of action for Yabusele tonight. So once again, he was really good for the job that he did, but he's also going against a guy who's a machine on the defensive glass, a machine on the offensive glass when we speak of Isaiah Hartenstein, finishing with 16 boards, 13 of which were on the defensive side, 3 on the offensive board. And I can't count how many times we saw him tap a basketball to a teammate on the offense just for the opportunity for a loose ball pickup that ultimately went to them as a rebound or something along that line on the defensive side too. On the glass, that was a tough assignment to have to box that guy out. So he needed his teammates to help. Yeah, exactly. So you needed his teammates to help him out. And the only one that ended up, Justin Edwards had 6. Jeff Doughton had 5 boards.
You see it in the numbers. Yabu, when he plays the 4, again, this is a pretty small sample both ways, but when Yabu is playing what I think is probably going to be his best position for a team that is fully healthy and ready to win and fully equipped to put him in the best spot to succeed. I think him playing the 5 for one of those teams would be a nice change up, right? When you think, okay, the other team's big, we need to draw some of these guys out. I think it's something you can go to in spurts. We've seen enough of that so far this year. But the best spot to put him, I think, would be the 4. And in a small sample, they have done a much better job on not a much better job, but a better job on the defensive glass when he's been playing that before.
Yep.
So
absolutely. So good work from Yabusele, but again, tough with him being basically the lone man trying to secure those boards. Even with Adam Bonus getting some time, 16 plus minutes, 7 points, 3 boards, and he gets into his little bit of foul trouble, has to come out. And plus, he's just a young guy where you're playing against a team like this. He's going to be turned around a lot for Adam Bonus out there on the floor.
So this isn't our WTF moment of the night. But let's give him the silver medal. The charge that Adam Bona had running over Isaiah Joe, where he left his feet to make a pass. And by the way, Adam Bona doesn't just leave his feet. Adam Bona is a bouncy guy.
He's up
jumping
there.
way up in the air, regardless if he's just making a kick-out pass. And Isaiah Joe took a charge, and it was basically like a guy trying to dunk, except it was just a pass. And it was, luckily nobody got hurt. It was
his back. He did the Saquon.
Yeah, he almost jumped over
He did the
backwards.
Saquon. Yeah, he went backwards, and Isaiah Joe was there in the right spot to take that charge. He tried to whistle the pass back out to the perimeter, but my man, you got to relax a little bit, just a little bit. As A.A. Ron says, Adam Bona is too busy chasing every shot to rebound. That was part of the scouting report when we discussed him on draft night, right? That's what he's going to do. So he might not be in position to rebound, and that's where the others have to do so. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about the Thunder side. Look, we talked about Shai just a little bit, but we can dive into a little bit more of what we saw from them tonight on kind of cruise control in this 16-point win for them. What else we saw from
we'll talk about some other stuff, too.
Some other positives from the team. We'll check in with the fellas from the arena as we hang out with you on this Tuesday night. Sixers fall 118-102. Justin Edwards, fantastic. But in the end, they lose their 3rd consecutive game, 8 games under 500 with a game to play tomorrow night against the New York Knicks. This is the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365.
And Devon, we have a big football game this weekend. It is the hottest ticket in town. And if you are thinking of going to Eagles-Rams, like you did last week to the game, you know where you got to head? Game Time. The Game Time app has a new feature called Game Time Picks. that makes getting tickets for events even easier for you, the customer. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching for thousands of tickets to find the best value. And the Game Time app, it has tons of great features like all-in pricing. If you toggle this feature, it shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. They have seat views, so you will not be surprised when you get there. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And look, take the guesswork, guys, out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Download Game Time today. Devon, what time is it?
Game time. Who? All right, welcome back. As we have to tell you about TrueMark and TrueMark Financial, how fantastic they are. You spent a lot of money during the holidays, didn't you? Didn't you? But did the credit cards leave you in the bad spot? They weighing you down, the balance a little bit. You're still trying to weigh that down? Well, you're trying to fix that now. Think about this, though. What if you could pay it off a little bit faster and with zero interest until 2026 if you had the credit card from the great people at TrueMark Financial? It's true. You could have done that, zero interest on balance transfers for 12 months. So all your payments can go toward reducing your balance, not just covering interest. And here's the play overall from TrueMark. You transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But you have to hurry because you have to apply by February 28th, 2025. I can't believe it's 2025 already. Whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a low rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. So wherever you are with your lifestyle, again, maybe spending a little more than you expected during the holidays, you can absolutely go to our good friends from TrueMark Financial. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details to apply today. TrueMark Financial is a federally insured institution by NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fees. Standard rate apply after the promotional rate. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show here, presented by Bet365. And I got to tell you about our good friends from Bet365. Isaiah Hartenstein, he let me down.
I know. You were so close too, man.
Isaiah Joe hit his threes. We said 1.5 over. Double-double for Isaiah Hartenstein. He had the 15 boards that we discussed. He was 4 for 7 from the floor, and he missed one free throw. Finished with 9 points, folks, tonight to miss the double-double. But Bet365 is a fantastic place to be overall. Maybe you took advantage during the game. You saw how things were playing out. You jumped on there for the live in-game. Maybe you had OKC because you just didn't have faith in the Philadelphia 76ers, and they did get up that 20 points, Rich. So the early payout offer was available to you if you decided to bet against your team. I don't know why, but you bet against your team and you took OKC, and they got hit that 20-point mark up by as much as 21 early in that game for you at Bet365. So it worked out that way for you. And Isaiah Hartenstein let me down on the double-double. That's okay, though. That's all right. Still rolling pretty good. Pretty good streak here overall.
That one hurts because you had a good read on it.
You had a free throw, man. Make your free throw. All right, let's get to the arena. Got a good read on what happened in the arena as we were discussing pregame of how this would go. Kyle Neubeck joins us live from the arena, where the Sixers lose by 16, but Kyle, it was much closer than we expected after seeing what the starting lineup looked like, all the inactives tonight, and who knew that it would be the Justin Edwards game, even in a loss.
Thank you to Justin Edwards for providing us with at least a little bit of positivity on an otherwise dreary, miserable, and meaningless night at the Wells Fargo Center. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling after watching that one?
It was, it was better than we expected. So not a lot of negatives discussing it. We did all that in the pregame show, knowing what the lineup was going to look like. But a surprising turnaround for this team tonight, the way that they battled, the way that they competed. We even talked about Nick Nurse and him coaching a better game than we've seen when they have been shorthanded. And Edwards really composing himself really nicely here.
So I think I will go the other way then, because it honestly made me even more annoyed watching them battle and compete and play hard and play well against this team. And then looking at the late scratch of Paul George and saying, just don't even really care to try to win this game tonight, right? And I think it just fits with this season-long theme of Derek trying to throw paper at me while being inconspicuous in the background. No, the season-long theme of they just act as if they are more accomplished than they actually are, right? And they act as if they have the luxury to sit back and rest on their laurels and say, his resume shows that eventually he'll be good enough and we'll be good enough as a team to set aside that we're just punting games like this. And I get it. You can sit here and justify not playing Paul George at 34 years old in a game that you're probably going to lose anyway. But I think it says everything about not just how they have treated this season, but how they treat the fans, where it's like, we don't even care about whether we're giving you a compelling or entertaining product, right? And like they backed into it tonight, where it was compelling and entertaining for stretches, certainly at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, where it's a close game. But they waved the white flag before the game. And it just, to me, reflects the organization. It's poorly reflects on the organization that Derek can't hit me with the paper that he just threw. Good try, buddy. They cannot commit to anything. It's just like, well, ball's probable, and we scratched him 30 minutes before the game because of other stuff. We have no idea if Joel's going to play tomorrow. We have no idea if Tyrese is going to play tomorrow. I can't tell you this. I can't tell you that. I'm sick of it. And then I look at those guys out on the floor tonight. Justin Edwards, who's barely in the league after disappointing Kentucky here. Gershon Yabusele, comeback season in the NBA after spending time overseas. You have lots of good. Jeff Doughton, two-way player who's battling to try to keep himself in the league over the long term. You watch these guys play hard and play well, and the three stars just seems like I would exclude Maxey from this tonight because he had a real issue. These guys just have no urgency to get out there and play and try to win in anything less than what feels like perfect circumstances, and that just pisses me off. And I'm sure it pisses off guys on the team that are busting their asses every night and are trying to go out there and put together a professional effort against one of the best teams in the league in OKC. Okay, so that's there. I got my grumpy old man get off my lawn take done. So there we have it.
All right, now, and I'm gonna be a bad reporter here. Now talk about Justin Edwards.
So the thing I really liked about the Justin Edwards game was the shot diversity. Obviously, he made a lot of catch and shoot threes. They're running him off some movement. Some possessions, he's just kind of sitting down in the corner or on the wing and serving as a release valve. But one of the benefits of having Justin play this game is that he gets opportunities to self-create. And obviously that could go pretty poorly, right? There were possessions tonight where he got stuck in the mud and he's in the middle of the floor and nowhere to really go with the ball. But I think by and large, what you could see is, this is the stuff that intrigued people when he was in high school, right? Like you have a big shot maker who can get to a spot, rise up over somebody. And I think that was more impressive to me than him hitting a bunch of threes, because I think we probably expect him to knock down catch and shoot threes. That's his path to playing time. Being able to get to the mid-range, hit a baseline jumper, hit a mid-range pull-up, do some things like that, that's really good. And I will say, I don't think the results have necessarily been there. Defensively, I think you can see a guy who might long-term be able to be if not an impact defender, at least a good defender. He had one possession in the first half against Jalen Williams where Jalen ends up hitting a great fadeaway turnaround, above the break type of jumper. But most of that possession was Justin just stonewalling him and not allowing him to go either direction or get to a spot or get any degree of comfort. So I think possessions like that show what he can be when he gets some more minutes and some more consistency over the long term. And so, look, I think he probably deserves a real look for rotation minutes the rest of the way, if nothing else, because he is a wing-sized player who is shooting well and looks like he might be able to defend, and they just don't have many guys like that.
So Derek is jumping in. Oh,
no, Derek,
oh,
just me. Derek's having a kumbaya on camera row back there, throwing paper at me.
So what was it that with the Paul George piece, we saw that he was questionable before the game, but what changed, as you said, 30 minutes before the game? He looked like the one that would probably be able to give it a go because he was probable in the injury report before the game for much of the day, for a majority of the day. Was there any real explanation as to why he was the one scratching, outside of us just saying it's a back-to-back and tomorrow you try to get the win?
No, I mean, that's about it. I asked Nick directly, and I was like, just for clarity's sake, because he had said earlier in the presser something to the effect of, yeah, well, with 30 minutes left, I was just told these guys are out. And so I followed up and was like, so you weren't told anything about Paul? It's just he's out. And he said, well, ankle's not good enough to go. And that's all he said. And I know he was listening on the injury report. Frankly, I don't believe it even a little bit. To list the guy as probable and then wait until 30 minutes before the game is a very clear, like, the other guys aren't playing, we're packing it in, and Paul's not playing. They'll never say it. If I had called him on it, they would deny it. But to me, it's abundantly clear what happened. In fact, I would go as far as to say, if you want to get into real speculation territory, the only reason that he's probably even on that report is so they had the option to do something like this if Maxey wasn't able to go. I would say I have a decent amount of confidence that's what happened.
So, Kyle, obviously we're just watching the game in the studios here. You and I have talked about, the difference between watching some players or teams live versus, on TV. I got to imagine that OKC team is pretty fun to watch, like the way they get into passing lanes and defend.
Yeah, I mean, I actually said to Derek on press row tonight, one of the big disappointments of how this game unfolded was, this is a team we see here once a year in Philadelphia. It's a game that should have like a lot of build up and a lot of excitement. Guy who's one of the MVP favorites and a deep, young, athletic, ascending team against, Joel and Paul and Tyrese and their role players. And instead we get the G League Sixers. And look, I give credit to OKC. They still showed up and they play with the same level of professionalism, effort, all that. This game could have been a 35-point blowout if they just make open threes. I don't think this was it was not close because OKC played with their food. It was close because they didn't shoot all that well. But I think the defensive recoveries, the effort in transition, the emphasis on pace when they have opportunities to run, they're a really smart basketball team all over the floor. I think it also helps that they have a lot of guys who can dribble a little bit. And so the ball just swings around the floor, it moves. And whoever ends up with the ball, they feel confident, like, okay, this guy can go win a matchup. This guy can take somebody off the dribble. He can if not get to the rim, at least get to a favorable spot and then find somebody else. So it's a night and day compared to not just tonight's Sixers, but the version of the Sixers we see almost every night, where lacking structure, lacking playmaking, lacking off the dribble talent. Like, it's an impressive team to watch, and it is not surprising at all that they've been as good as they are.
Just for fun, Kyle, because of what this was supposed to be on January 14th, how big this game was supposed to be, in the pregame for our first part of the rundown, we put finals preview tonight for tonight, just to have a little fun with what it was supposed to be.
The NBA Cup Finals? Maybe that could happen.
Well, listen, man, go ahead, get out of there. You'll be right back tomorrow for game number 2 as the Knicks are in town for game 2 of the second night of a back-to-back. It's windy outside, so you guys stay warm and be careful getting home as we sign off on this one.
Well, you guys get home safe, and obviously what we should all be excited for is Joel coming back, because the last time he came back and it was against the Knicks, he looked really sharp and the team looked really good. So just optimism abound, fellas. I'm fired up for tomorrow night.
No doubt, man. All right, man. Be safe. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Kyle Neubeck, make sure you read his Good, Bad, the Ugly there for his post-game recap at allphly.com. Derek will have some stuff up there as well. Rich will have his newsletter dropping tomorrow morning, so make sure you sign up to become a diehard member, to become a member of our community, the Discord as well. Free t-shirt when you sign up, allphly.com. And you can still take event. Last time I looked, I think it was a little bit earlier, I saw that he was still able to get a decent price. So folks, get in there and take advantage of the deal. Become a diehard member. Join the diehard community. And maybe every now and again, yes, I always say it, you'll catch me in the Discord every once in a while. Every once in a while.
We're in the Discord, though. There's 4 of us.
Yeah.
Odds are you'll see one of us in there.
Yeah, the team is in there. Hey, so they got it covered. But I'll be in there every once in a blue moon. All right, man.
Bodner's got a better attention span than us, man.
Man.
I can't keep track of all the comments. I mean, our Discord gets pretty lively. It's something that I have acclimated to recently, and it's there's a lot of really smart people and a lot of people who have strong opinions in there. Anyway, it can be a little bit hard to keep track of, but if you are a diehard Sixers fan, it's a great place to come talk hoops for sure.
Yes, it is. And you catch Vince yelling in there too, from time to time.
We would have never heard the end of it if the Sixers had actually won this game tonight. Vince with his crazy prediction that they were going to win the game.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely
He's probably
did.
still taking a victory lap that it got down to 4 points with like 10 minutes left, 11 minutes
How's he
left.
saying it, Bree? See?
I told you. Vince, they lost by 16.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to our player of the game. As no surprise in this one, did not go to the Shai Gilgeous side. We went to the Justin Edwards side. Look at that, man. You had to go stock Getty image photo from media day.
Get that man an action shot.
25, 4 made threes on 9 attempts, 4 assists, 6 boards. A very, very good stat line. And it wasn't just the stat line. If you watched the game, which all of you did, you absolutely know that was a legit line that he had tonight. Not to be taken lightly again against, you talked about their defense in the beginning of the pregame. That's a really good defensive team.
It's like hard to like even dribble inside the arc against them.
And he did that. So
he was good.
Congratulations to the player of the game, which is Justin Edwards. And player of the game, as always, is presented by
no one.
There you go. All right. Our WTF moment of the night. We don't have video of it, or at least I didn't. I don't know that Bree found it, but the WTF, we always explain it anyway. You saw it. Go get him, Rick. In a bad way.
So Rick is pushing the ball.
Yeah, man.
In semi-transition. He leaves his feet to pass for some reason at the free throw line. He's got Justin Edwards on the wing, but because Rick, for some reason, wanted to leave his feet to pass on a pass he had no business leaving his feet on, Justin Edwards cuts to the basket and Rick throws it like it looks like he's literally throwing it to the guy in the first row.
Yes, he was. And
anyway.
I know the people right there in the first row, and I need to ask them, how close was that to you guys' hands to catch that basketball? Because that was a ridiculous pass by Ricky, leaving his feet. And Adam Bonus got the honorable mention, the silver medal for the one that he did, which was a charge. But the Ricky one was way better, that we had to get that one. The WTF moment of the night, courtesy of our guy, Ricky Council, the fourth. A decent game. He had 13 points. He acquitted himself pretty well. Saw an opportunity to get out there in the starting role and put up 15 shots on 5 attempts. He was 1 for 8 from 3. I didn't even realize he took 8 threes tonight. So 1 for 8 from 3, 5 for 15 from the floor with 4 boards, 4 assists, and you guessed it, a team high 6 turnovers tonight. Go get him, Rick. The WTF moment of the night brought to you by no one.
See, since this was a process game, there were like 4 or 5 plays we could have used.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, if we were doing this show 10 years ago during the process, we would have had our whole B block would be the WTF moments of the night. You know, like Nerlens Noel. Remember the play where he got the steal and he just was trying to dribble in for a dunk? And he like
a lot of times he would do that.
Yeah, he didn't have the best hands in the world. Anyway, there were a lot of WTF moments under Sam Hinkie's watch, which was the point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was good times, man. Good times. Anything else stand out to you in this one? Look, was what it was. They played better than we expected. They lost, but they acquitted themselves pretty well tonight. And now it's about getting ready for tomorrow. We're not handing out participation trophies overall. You're still 8 games under 500, and you are now a little bit further back than you were starting this game in the standings for that 10th. And as Kyle talked about, everybody go read his piece again at allphly.com. But Kyle talking about taking these types of games seriously when there are multiple guys off the floor, they're unavailable to play. Once again, maybe you're just 3 games under 500 if these games, and they've had so many that we've gone over it every time it happened, and then we've recalled it going back. The Phoenix game earlier in the season, the Clippers game earlier in the season, the Suns game last week that they were close, and so many, the Cleveland game that you brought up, so many games that they've been in that they probably should have won, and they lost. Yeah. And the Kings game, and here we are. So all of those types of games, they come back and bite you. So to Kyle's point, he's not wrong to feel the way that he feels and expressing it while we're talking about a lot of positive things, just trying to get away from the negativity that we discussed in the pregame. We had a little bit of a shining light tonight that was fun to talk about, but they still lost. And they are, again.
And they better bring it tomorrow.
Joel Embiid said, Devon, please tell Mikal to take it easy on the squad tomorrow. Well, I can't do that because if they did not play well in the Knicks side, I would want him to be the one that, obviously has the best night. So, Joel Embiid, I'm sorry. He had a good game yesterday.
He had a good game. They lost, though.
Yeah, he who was it that they lost to?
They lost to Detroit, which is not helping the Sixers in terms of, I think you would want the Knicks to probably win that game.
We keep saying they're going to
the Sixers, like
they're going to fall down, man. But
the Knicks are too far ahead. You kiss them goodbye. If you see them in the playoffs, great. The Pistons, a team that, you were hoping you'd be able to reel in at some point. 2 games above 500, and they beat the Knicks last night. Mikal Bridges, 9 of 13 from the field, 6 of 8 from beyond the arc. Wasn't his fault.
Detroit is a half a game back of the 6th spot right now in the Eastern Conference.
The Knicks got,
playoffs.
by the way, they've had a weird little stretch here. They did have a nice performance against Milwaukee mixed in there, but they played that Oklahoma City team on Friday, and they got spanked. They got beat worse than the Sixers did. So Knicks I think they've lost 2 of 3, at least. Okay, maybe you have a chance to go get them. Like Kyle said, last time the Sixers brought Joel back after a long absence against the Knicks, didn't turn out that well. That was the first game of the season, though. You would hope he's a little better at this point. But, man, they really need a dub.
I'm not thrilled with all the minutes that my guy's playing, but,
By the way, I mean, they are playing like this is a Tibbs thing every year.
So when they have this stretch and they're losing these games, a little bit fatigued, a little bit.
Huh? Yeah. Dude, I mean, I know Mikal was one of these guys, but Tibbs is going full Tibbs. I believe this was as of at least a couple weeks ago. They had 4 of the 6 highest minute guys in the NBA. And those guys have been remarkably healthy so far, too. So not only are they playing a bunch of minutes per game, that's what that stat was. It was also like the total minutes. They're racking them up. So
Kel leads the league in minutes played. Not surprised.
In fairness, he's done that across multiple coaches. They probably need to give him a little bit better of a break.
The substitution patterns are a little bit different.
Okay.
A little bit different, especially in Phoenix, where Monty would divvy up the minutes a certain way to give guys breaks and all. Mikal would always play high 30s and definitely into the 40s, but okay. I'll just stop there. One more thing. There was a report out there as we talk about point guards, and make sure you all go and read the stories at allphly.com, sign up to become a diehard member. There was a report out there as we talked about point guards getting some more backcourt help, Rich. And my guy is Dennis Smith Jr., and there was a report that he might be going overseas. Don't know how credible it is, but saw it multiple times throughout the day, and we'll see. But if he's going, that's one player off the board as far as a veteran ball handler who can help take some of those duties away from some of the pressure off of some of those other guys, and maybe take minutes from Reggie Jackson, Kyle Lowry in that sense, where if Dennis Smith goes across the water, he's one guy off the board.
Would have been nice if you could just give him a two-way and tell him, hey, you can at least play 30 minutes per game in these games where Joel isn't playing and we're shorthanded. And hopefully they get some guys back where that opportunity isn't quite there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with Derek and Kyle getting on the Sixers for not using that 15th roster spot, having that two-way roster spot open. I know they did re-sign Pete Nance to get some cardio in this game, but yeah, it's been bad.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Super Chat. Marty Bones, how much will the trade deadline, Rich, dictate the direction of the team going forward? Hashtag bag the flag. What do you call it?
I call it Pooper for Cooper.
Pooper for Cooper. That's it, right? So hashtag bag the flag. Pooper
bag the
for
flag's
Cooper.
Probably
Thank
better.
you, Bones. Appreciate it.
Capture the flag. That works too.
Capture the flag. What do you think?
That works too. So
12 games left.
I think there's a chance that they could have a very, very weird trade deadline, Devon, in that they might make moves to try and set them up for next year. The matching salary, I don't know if you can be that big of a seller at the trade deadline. Like, you should want to be a seller, obviously, but with the way the NBA trade rules work, you need matching salary. So the idea of trading KJ Martin just so you want to sell him, like, I don't think that's going to happen. If you make that move, it's going to be to acquire a player for the next season too. So
kind of like with Golden State taking back Schroeder for an injured DeAnthony Melton going to Brooklyn.
Sure. Yeah, the trade rules are really goofy. So we're going to need Derek to get on top of this. I'm not fully abreast of all of these these aprons.
But just the overview of in general, the record where it is. We've already talked about how rough these 13 games are going to be before the deadline. I mean, now 12. That what if they are, again, double digits under 500?
Yeah.
What if they are closer? Does that change how you would hope that they at least attack the deadline?
Well, I think if you would make any moves, it would be forward-looking, right?
Yeah.
You would not make a move just to get a player for this year to go kind of all in. And I don't think Daryl's thinking that way either. Honestly, guys, I think just judging by what I know about Daryl Morey, I don't think he's going to abandon this team this easily. I think he has confidence in the group he has put together, despite the fact that this has been a disaster so far. It has been an unmitigated disaster through basically half the season now. I think he's going to look at it and say, just got to get Joel Embiid healthy, and we'll see if they can do that.
Yep. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. And before we go away, we have to make sure that we say it's time for the world famous roll call.
Everybody earned the roll call tonight.
Oh, yeah, they really did. All right, let's start off with our good people, Prophet 1. What up, Prophet? Kyle Wright, Joaquin from Cherry Hill. We got X-Man. Saw X in there. What up, X? Really appreciate it as always. Philly fans hanging out with us. Really getting active in the chat as always. Ticked off at this basketball team, 8 games under 500.
I get it.
We get it. Remo K. Maury Yams back with the exclamation point.
Yams does not like Daryl Morey. Appreciate you, Yams.
Does not. Holy cannoli. Mellow 3-point. Darkness. Turn the lights down in the studio. Darkness hanging out with us. Hey, Aaron. What up, Aaron? Nona. Hey, Nona. Neil Deaver.
Nona, Neil.
John Peace. John Peace saying tell Kale to slow it down tomorrow night. No. Turn it up, Kale. Get some points up there on the board. Trying to get an all-star berth here. Turn it up. Got a month to go. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Jess. We see Jess in there. Glenn A. also hanging out with us. I Gavini with Nona. Hey, Nona. We saw Jeannie. She had to bail out a little bit earlier, so she, late night, got to get up, get ready for work tomorrow. We understand. We appreciate it as always. Saw Sal earlier in there. Also, who is that? Is that Ira? Ira. Thank you. Good show.
I was saying Elro.
Is it? Okay.
Is it Ira? I don't know.
Anyway,
whoever
thank you.
Appreciate
we
you.
Appreciate it. Yes, absolutely. We appreciate it. Larry K. Did I see PHLY in there? I thought I saw PHLY in there. Maybe I did
shout
see
out to
PHLY.
PHLY.
PHLY, as always, we really appreciate it. And all of you, make sure you have a great rest of your night before you go away. Make sure you like and subscribe to help us out there with the numbers. Like and subscribe. And when you do, hit that bell icon. And when you do, you get the alert that sounds like this. That is game time for us right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, pregame, postgame, trade deadline show, whatever it might be. You will be alerted that we're here for you. Tomorrow, Sixers, Knicks, pregame show, 6:30. You said it's a 7 o'clock start, right? Nationally televised game, ESPN. So 7
p.m. start. Yep.
6:30 pregame. And last week I said, hey guys, I'm going to be here for the Knicks game. I'm not going to go to the arena. I'm just going to sit back, let the rest of the family go. I'll talk to them later and all that. Derek was like, no, go to the game. So Derek told me to go to the game.
Oh, you're dropping this on me now?
Derek and Rich
Derek
will be
in the
here
saddle tomorrow night?
Yes, Derek and Rich will be here with Bree. So I'll be at the game tomorrow. Check out Cuz. Make sure you get, 40 for the night.
You gotta.
Give me a little all-star push so the coaches can vote him in. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to get it. He doesn't have enough fan votes right now. So we got to get in how we get in. So I'll be there tomorrow. I won't be here. I won't be back until Saturday, as we have Saturday and Sunday. So pre and post tomorrow for Knicks and Sixers, Thursday and Friday off, and we are back Saturday and Sunday for the 2 road games, Pacers, Bucks, Saturday and Sunday, and of course, the Birds, Rich. Gotta get your thoughts right now. Birds, Rams, first thoughts after the game is finished up last night. Rams stunned the Vikings. How do you feel?
I mean, a scary coach QB combo, but
Absolutely.
We did run for 300 yards against them earlier this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And I do agree with the guys as they talked about with Jamie and Zach's saying on the show that they feel like the second game's not going to be easy, but it might be a better situation for them, especially with Jalen Hurts game 2, since he's been back from the concussion with all that time off. So, and it ticked off A.J. Brown reading books. So I like it.
And especially with the Rams, I think they had 9 sacks against Darnold.
9 sacks.
You're not going to get 9 sacks with your pass rush against the Eagles.
Nah. You're not doing that. Tough loss with Nakobe Dean, but we've
bummer.
seen Vic Fangio figure things out throughout the season, so hopefully they can do so again on Sunday. So the guys will be back tomorrow with Bree. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Like and subscribe. Once again, hit the bell icon, of course, so you can get the alert. Our postgame show is brought to you, as always, by Bet365. Make sure you sign up with Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you do sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. For Derek, Kyle, Rich, Bree, I'm Devon. I'll see you on Saturday. Enjoy the game tomorrow. If you are at the arena, I haven't been there all that much. Guess what? 2 Knicks games. So catch me if you can tomorrow at the arena. Shout me out, and I'll be gladly, of course, to stop by and have a chat because I'm used to talking in the arena. Both Rich and I are used to talking in the arena to folks, but we haven't been there as much. So we'll see you tomorrow at the arena, and I'll certainly see you on Saturday for pregame Sixers Pacers right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.